The National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs reported that 72% of hate crimes against LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning people were against trans women. 90% of those are trans women of color. 1 in 4 trans people have experienced violence, oftentimes in bathrooms and other public places, and then again by first responders and medical professionals. In 2011, the National LGBTQ Task Force, together with the National Center for Transgender Equality, released the report, Injustice at Every Turn, a report on the National Discrimination Survey. They found that 46% of transgender people reported being uncomfortable seeking police assistance, and 38% of those were black transgender people, and 23% of those are Latina trans people who have been harassed by police. Crimes are often not reported or investigated. So what is a hate crime? A hate crime is a crime motivated by hatred towards someone's identity, perceived identity, or affiliation with a specific group. Often slurs such as queer or faggot are used to attack one's gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation. Whereas sexual orientation is separate from gender identity and gender expression, it is often tied together in violence. In 2009, the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act was passed, and the FBI began tracking gender bias motivated crimes based on the victim's actual or perceived gender identity. Many times, these crimes are left unsolved with no charges made. The victims are often misgendered and mistreated in the news. In addition to violence, transgender individuals lack equal access to jobs and equal treatment while employed. The National Transgender Discrimination Survey in 2011 found that, while they were employed, 90% of transgender people have experienced harassment in the workplace, 26% reporting having lost a job because they were transgender or gender nonconforming. The same survey found that among those who had tried to access homeless shelters, 29% were completely refused services. An additional 25% were evicted after revealing their transgender status, and 47% were pushed out as a result of poor treatment. States have policies and laws that do not allow people to match all their identity documents, such as driver's license, social security card, and passport, with their correct gender. This increases the unemployment rate, institutional discrimination, and decreased access to health care and life-saving medications and treatment. What can be done? We need to increase cultural competency. This involves recognizing and correcting one's own biases and changing one's behavior to accommodate different cultural beliefs, conventions, and values. This can be done through education, community organization, policy changes, rallies, and marches, working within the community in the local, state, and national level. What is currently being done? There's a lot of education and awareness. Organizations like GLSEN, the Gay and Lesbian Straight Education Network, GLAAD, Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination, PFLAG, Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, nonprofits such as Identity in Anchorage, and SIGLA, the Southeast Alaska Gay and Lesbian Association in Southeast Alaska, Pride events, Pride parades, Pride marches, shows, films, documentaries on public TV such as When We Rise, and celebrating the passage of marriage equality in 2015 and Transgender Awareness Week and Transgender Day of Remembrance. November 14th through the 20th is Transgender Awareness Week that helps raise the visibility of transgender and gender nonconforming people and address these issues of violence, discrimination, and hate. The final day is Transgender Awareness Week is Transgender Day of Remembrance, or TDOR. It honors the memory of those lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender hate crimes. TDOR was started by transgender advocate Gwendolyn Ann Smith as a way to honor the memory of Rita Hester, a transgender woman who was killed in 1998. The Virgo honored all transgender people lost to violence that year and is now an annual event worldwide. TDOR is important to me because at my first TDOR I ever attended in 2014, I spoke out to the crowd. I talked about visibility and the importance of education. It was the first time I spoke publicly about my gender nonconformity. I had made a promise to myself earlier that year to educate others about gender because of the lack of knowledge and understanding of gender. Since then, I've continued to educate, advocate for policy change, and be visible. Creating a sense of community encourages support and offers a safe refuge for those who experience violence, harassment, and discrimination.